The sun is shining at Donington. Tom Chilton is on pole position. The lights are red. Lights out, good getaway made then by Smiley from third on the grid. Demon start as you would expect from Darrell de Leon, but it's going to be Tom Chilton just ahead on the run down towards Redgate. To the outside line goes Tom Ingram. Is he going to be able to go all the way round the outside to clear his teammate? He's going to try. Up the inside goes Smiley. The road opens up for him, and Chilton is just going to be able to defend as Ingram comes around the outside to secure second. Smiley third as they drop downhill for the first time, and then behind there's a good getaway being made by the Fords as they can start to chip their way up the order. Down to the old hairpin on that one. It's Chilton up front. Cammish has made a good start. That's Dan Cammish. Look on the inside of Darrell de Leon. You've got Rowbottom with Ash Sutton. So all the Fords come charging forward. They manage to get past centre Proctor. Dan Morgan is in the mix. We've also got drivers on the hard tyre, remember, and the best of those on the grid was Dan Lloyd. Gordon Shedden's on the hard as well as they drop down towards the S's. We'll come to the other drivers on the hards in due course as there Sutton skips across the gravel and blasts down towards the Melbourne hairpin. Adam Morgan then on the back of his teammate Senna Proctor, but over the line at the end of lap one. Chilton and Ingram absolutely toe-to-toe. Look, together. Bit of a gap back to Chris Smiley third, and he's leading the independents. In fourth place it's Cammish. Rowbottom is fifth. In sixth place it's Sutton. Then Senna Proctor seventh. Adam Morgan eighth. Jake Hill is in ninth place. Darrell de Leon's had a bad first lap, hasn't he? He's really fallen back now into 10th place from fourth on the grid.
Yeah, it's almost like he hasn't been able to switch the tyres on the BMW. Despite the sun shining, he just hasn't got the car hooked up initially. Proctor down the inside and cleanly through again on his teammate.
And then Morgan fights back, doesn't he, and retakes the place. He comes up towards Schwann's curve, and in the background as well, the Toyota's going nicely. Aaron Taylor-Smith and Gordon Shedden are not that far behind, so they are looking very promising right now. And have a look for third place, because Smiley now has been caught by Dan Rowbottom, who's got ahead of Dan Cammish, so that's significant in their battle for third in the championship. Now we'll see what happens for Ash Sutton, because he needs to be getting as far up the order as possible. He needs, if he's going to be behind Ingram, to be giving away as few points as possible, and therefore to help him, Napa Racing need to get him past Cammish and past Robo.
Well, Rowbottom was behind Cammish on the last lap, so not sure where he passed him, but maybe this is a tactical play. We'll have to wait and see, but Rowbottom looks like he's going for every position, doesn't he?
And Robo is thinking about where he can make his move against Smiley, who is still leading in that independence part of the race. Big slide there from Aaron Taylor-Smith as Rowbottom gets up the inside of Smiley down to the Melbourne hairpin, and John Dunham. Have a look at Sutton in the background, because he feints the inside, and as Robo goes through and goes wide, Smiley comes back and Rowbottom retakes the place, although Rowbottom's going to have the inside line for the next hairpin at Goddard, so he should be able to hang on to that third, but Smiley is not giving up without a fight. And have a look behind, because Cammish and Sutton are together, and Ingram is into the lead of the race. There's been a switch now between Team Virtue, the game of chess here to get your cars as high up the order for the championship as possible is certainly happening in both squads. That is Sutton thinking about a move on the inside, and he gets ahead of Cammish. Job done. He'll have got the message that Ingram is ahead now for the race lead, so Sutton needs as many points, although that looks as though he had to work a bit harder than Rowbottom did.
Yeah, and also Cammish was fighting back at him. They were fighting at the Melbourne hairpin and Goddard's, so much so that in actual fact Adam Morgan has caught up to behind them, so I'm not sure what was at play there. It seemed like the team tactics, orders, whatever it was, were costing them track position rather than sorting it out fairly, and Ash Sutton had to get his elbows out and squeeze past Cammish on the inside.
There's another place to gain by getting past Smiley, and if he gets past Smiley and closes on Rowbottom, then there's another decision to be made. Smiley locks up at the Melbourne hairpin.
Well, Smiley did a great job, if that was his intention, of allowing the other two teammates, including Tom Ingram, to get away into a nice comfortable lead, and Chilton has acquiesced that lead position, having gained a point for leading the race. Everyone that leads a lap gains a point, so he's acquiesced to chip to Ingram now, who's really just got to bring this car home, make sure he doesn't exceed track limits too many times. And Morgan's now looking at the outside of Cammish.
Chilton also there has done the fastest lap of the race, so that's a point that he takes and Ingram does not. Well, you could see how the switch was done. Tom Ingram allowed Chilton back through, so Tom Chilton race leader, and again perhaps they're thinking, well, okay, Ash Sutton is not a threat, he's not for the podium yet, they might have to switch again. Now Sutton is looking a bit more menacing as far as Chris Smiley is concerned. The team orders, the chess game here is going to go on right the way to the end, and what Team Virtue decides to do at the end is rather dependent on how far up the order Ash Sutton gets. Ingram is outscoring him, yes, but by how many points? That's what they're trying to manage. So we've got Rowbottom third. He's not really escaping from Smiley.
No, he's not. We'll but Sutton will absolutely, definitely want to pass Smiley, because fourth is the very worst that he would want to finish, and then they can decide whether he takes the third place or not. This is on board with Jake Hill getting cleanly past Adam Morgan before they get to the braking area at the chicane.
He's down Rowbottom, not escaping from Chris Smiley, because he's trying to delay him and give Sutton a better chance to challenge the Restart Racing Hyundai. Earlier on, Rowbottom looked to have good pace and was pulling away. The gap certainly come down, and now Rowbottom is creating a little bunch. Now, if Sutton can clear Smiley, that makes it easier for another switch to put him ahead of Rowbottom.
Yeah, that would make sense for Rowbottom to hold Smiley up a little bit and give an opportunity to Sutton.
And as they head up towards Schwantz Curve, he's close enough to have a go against Chris Smiley, and there's the gap to the inside line. Sutton goes through, nicely done.
Beautiful pass, perfectly timed as always with Ashsack passes. The problem that Sutton has had is that Smiley's got the maximum of 8 laps of boost to use. So unless he can jump him on a lap that he's not using it, which I fancy he's done now, he's been Cammish just opened the door with 2 wheels on the grass. That's the difference between using boost and not using boost.
So through he goes, then, but a rallycross required as he puts 2 wheels onto the dirt and gets up ahead of Chris Smiley. Smiley still leading in the independence part of the race, which is their main goal. So now let's see what happens between Rowbottom and Sutton. As up front, Chilton and Ingram lead the way. And is it going to be Tom Chilton to win, or is there going to be another switch before the very end? Jake Hill now gets a good run out of the S's there. Look in the Laser Beamer, the Laser Tools Racing BMW, to try to go around the outside of Smiley, and he's got his nose in front of the Melbourne Hand, a little bit of a lock-up, and Smiley gets his elbows out, just hangs on to the place.
But I know that Hill's on the boost this lap, because I saw the light in the rear window flashing, and look at the advantage. Bit of traction advantage off the corner, bit of boost, and Hill's able to get up the inside cleanly this time of Smiley, and Morgan goes through as well with a bit of hip and shoulder onto the grass.
Chris Smiley has used all of his boost, so all the 8 laps are gone, even though we've still got 5 laps to go. So Chris has gone hard and gone early, if you like, with the use of the boost, and that might come back to bite him now.
Well, yeah, he's obviously used that to hold that position, but hasn't quite got the pace without it. So, yeah, the gap actually at the fronts has split up. Look at the gap between Rowbottom and Sutton. It's quite a big gap now.
It's stretched out by 4 tenths as you look at Chilton with Tom Ingram behind. Not falling away, is he? So Chilton is leading on the road, and we'll wait to see whether Team Virtue want to switch positions again before the very end. Senna Proctor now comes up to have a go at Chris Smiley. The Restart Racing team has made massive strides. This sees 4th place is the charging Ash Sutton. Now, if he stays there, of course, he doesn't have to worry about the hard tyre going into the next race. But if he stays there, he doesn't score as many points as he would for 3rd. So, which is the better option? Stay 4th, or hope there's a switch between him and Rowbottom for 3rd place?
I personally think he should stay there in 4th. Sacrifice just a few points for the possibility of having a big tyre advantage. Not a big tyre, but enough of an advantage to maybe win race 2.
And therefore take away points from Ingram in that 2nd race later on. So this again will be in the minds of the engineers up and down the pit lane, particularly so now with championship points at play. Cammish here under attack from Jake Hill. Jake having chipped his way up into the top 6, so he's gone about this really well over the course of the 12 laps that we have done. It's about to become 13 in the book as Chilton is heading up towards the timing line there. You've got Senna Proctor ahead now of Chris Smiley, so as he gained a place, he has indeed up towards Goddard. Last lap.
Last lap, that battle between Hill and Cammish could be interesting, because on this last lap, Hill has boost available to him and Cammish does not. He's used it all up. And here we are on board with Hill. 15 seconds of usage he has, but the gap between them is a little bit of a big one. It's 3/4 of a second.
Downhill comes Hill. We need to be looking at the race-leading Hyundais just in case there's a switch, and keeping an eye also on the 3rd and 4th place Fords just in case. So the field pouring its way down through the Craner curves on that Shedden versus Rainford, then absolutely together. Gordon Shedden just gets back ahead as they come to the old hairpin. Brilliant battle between these two. These are on the hard tyre, remember, they rub as they head up towards Schwantz Curve. And Gordon Shedden fends off Charles Rainford. Front-wheel drive Toyota, rear-wheel drive BMW. Tom Chilton is the race leader. Tom Ingram is 2nd. Is it going to stay that way as they come down towards the S's? The gap to the eye looking a little bit less, possibly. Chilton, with 2 corners to go, leads Ingram, and Rowbottom in 3rd place, much quicker than they were on that last lap by about 8 tenths of a second. So he's certainly closed on Ingram, but he's going to run out of laps in order to have a go at him. So Chilton heads out of the Melbourne hairpin. It was at this part of the circuit that Ingram gave the lead back to Chilton, and it looks as though Tom Chilton is going to be able to stay ahead then. He was a winner on the national circuit earlier on in the season. It's going to be an 18th win of his career, or is it? Because he slows right down, he flashes the lights, he comes up to the line, and Tom Chilton comes through just ahead of Tom Ingram. He does take the win. The gap at the flag, 0.6 of a second. Tom Chilton wins from Tom Ingram down Rowbottom, is third ahead of Ash Sutton. Then it's Cammish from Hill. Morgan comes over the line 7th. 8th is going to be Proctor. Chris Smiley 9th to win the independents. And Aaron Taylor Smith in 10th.